Hello friends, welcome to How to VLN channel. This is DBA VLN stream. In this video, we are going to see how to add, validate, delete credentials in Oracle GoldenGate. It's a microservice architecture and the version is 21.3. Let's get started. Okay, the various steps involved in it. So why I chose curl? Okay, curl is a wonderful utility. Alright, if you see here, I have gone through this Oracle documentation site for curl, which is a REST API. So you'll be able to do all the actions which you perform in using the web browser using this REST API. So you can perform all the operations on your putty screen itself rather than going to or depend on the web user interface. Okay, that's the reason primarily I'm using this. So if you have any firewall port problems or any other issues, this REST API is wonderful tool. Moreover, this is wonderful tool for automation. Okay, so let's get started. So the various steps involved are, first we will verify all the credentials which are already stored in the GoldenGate deployment. The assumption here is that you already completed the installation of Oracle GoldenGate binary and then you already have a deployment running and you have all the GoldenGate services which are mandatory or already started. If you have any questions about how to install, deploy or start services, please refer to my previous videos. Okay. So first step is to list the credentials which are already there in the GoldenGate deployment. Next one, add the credential which you want to do. So and then verify the credential which was added and then validate the credential, which when I say validate is really the step where you will try to make a connection to the target database. Okay, and then finally we will delete the credential we added as well, and let's see how it works. As usual, for the exercise we need a GoldenGate deployment with all the services running. So I'll show you if I have all my services running already. You see here all necessary services for my GoldenGate deployment is already running, and I'm going to connect to that GoldenGate deployment and create my service. The database to which I'm going to connect is this for my extract. Okay, see, this is the database to which I'm going to connect, and the user I'm going to use to connect is ggadmin, and I'll just show you right away. You see, it's connected fine, and I am on this machine, and its IP address is 192.168.194.10. Alright, so from the GoldenGate machine I'm going to connect to this machine as ggadmin user, and this is the credential. This is the credential I'm going to create. Let's get started. So first step, as I mentioned, let's validate. Sorry, let's list out all the credentials which are already existing in the GoldenGate deployment. Okay, you see here no information found in credential store. Okay, so like I insist the fact, you see here you go through this documentation site. I always prefer, though I refer to a lot of YouTube videos and documentation sites, blogs and so on, my final place to verify all the content is Oracle documentation site. It's a single way, I mean it's a single source which is very guaranteed to be accurate information, which is guaranteed to provide you accurate information because it's Oracle's product and who else can provide a better content than them. Alright, so I always verify after I do all my lab exercise, I still go to my Oracle documentation site to validate all the operations we perform. Okay, so similarly I request you also do that. And if you see here, I'm in the Oracle documentation site. I was going through this document, that's why I developed this procedure, so you can very well validate your procedure. Okay, whatever operation we perform, we are going to have the action and the REST API command that we need to, or this is I think directory structure, I think the one which we, so action against the directory structure, I think in the REST API you need to invoke. Okay, or they call it as the endpoint. Yeah, maybe it's the endpoint, and action and the endpoint you need to be very clear. So first thing we are going to do is list out the credentials, right? For that the endpoint is credentials. Alright, so It's very important you notice the port number here. When it comes to managing the services, you will have a different port number, which is service manager port number 9100. When it comes to managing the deployment, you will be connecting to the deployment using 9011 port, and the distribution service, receiver service, performance manager service, all of them has individual port numbers. So you have to connect to those port numbers and then to reach their endpoints and perform necessary action. And you see here, this is a credential for my GoldenGate administration. Okay, so now let's get started. So I'm connecting to my GoldenGate deployment using the GoldenGate administrator user accounts. So alright, so I don't have any actions here. Why I kept actions here? Alright, so first we need to get all the credentials which are there in the database. Let me clear this. Okay, we see here no information found in the credential store. You see, this is the endpoint. Alright, and it doesn't have any credential which is already stored. Okay, now let's add a credential. This is a command to add the credential. Again, I'm connecting to GGSEA username, which is the administrative user. And you see here, I am connecting to the target database ggadmin. You don't need to provide these two slashes. Without two slash also it will work. As you normally do, it's a easy connect string. Okay, you can remove this double slash as well. I tested it, it worked. So if you want to keep it, it's okay. It's what Oracle gave in the example, so I'm keeping it. And the port number. So this is the host to which I'm connecting, and this is the port number, and this is the service name, and the password. You can actually even put a DNS name also if you wish to. And this is the password. So this is the again deployment port number, credential, and this endpoint is Oracle GoldenGate is the default domain for storing the credential in the GoldenGate deployment. So I'm using the same Oracle GoldenGate domain, and this is the alias by which I will identify this credential. Okay, so let's add the credential. The credential is added. If you see the message, it's a success message. Credential stored altered. Earlier it didn't have any. Now the credential store altered. Okay, so now let's verify the credential store. I think. Okay, let's verify this. You see here, there is earlier it said no credential store found. Now we have a credential store which is having a domain name Oracle GoldenGate. Alright, so now there is a credential exists, and this is the domain. Now let's verify the connections. So since we created a connection now credential, this connection should list you all the aliases available. You see here, this is the domain name dot connection name, which is a credential. So we have a credential which is already created. Now let's verify the credential. Let's verify the credential. See, it didn't throw any error, meaning it's successfully finished. Okay, it's able to connect to the database. Now let's verify the other way to clearly see if you're able to connect or not. Okay, we are connected to the deployment. I'm connecting to the database using the credential. Successfully logged into the database. So this means that we are able to connect to the database successfully. It's all looking good. Now let's delete the credential. So we don't need to provide this because we are already identifying this. So delete is the operation. Is deleted. Let's verify if there are any credential available or not. There is no credential available. Alright, so this is how you add a credential, validate the credential, and delete the credential. I hope you like this video. This is a real quick, If you like it, give me a thumbs up, subscribe to How to VLN channel, and please provide me your valuable feedback in the comment section. Let's meet in the next video. Thank you. Bye.